Respected and distinguished members of the bar, my learned colleagues in legal profession, my fellow citizens, students, civil society leaders, brothers and sisters, my hearty greetings to all of you. In recent times, nowadays, we are hearing the word not only anti-national but also Andhbhakti very frequently. And today I wish to speak on this subject that concerns not merely politics, but the very future of Indian democracy. The topic is Deshbhakthi-Vs-Andhbhakthi. So, patriotism versus blind devotion. This is not a speech against any political party or any individual leader, my friends. It is in defense of the Constitution of India. It is a humble attempt to remind ourselves of the timeless warning given by the chief architect of our Indian Constitution, Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, against hero worship in politics. My friends, on 25th November 1949, one day before India adopted its constitution, Ambedkar delivered one of the greatest speeches in our constitutional history. His warning remains as relevant today as it was 77 years ago. He said, "Bhakti in religion may be a road to salvation of the soul, but in politics, Bhakti or hero worship is a sure road to degradation and to eventual dictatorship." He warned against placing leaders above criticism and stressed that devotion to a person destroys democratic accountability. The path to dictatorship. My friends, those were not ordinary words. They were not spoken in the heat of any political debate. They were spoken after years of studying constitutional democracies throughout the world. Babasaheb Ambedkar understood one fundamental truth: democracy cannot survive where citizens surrender their independent thinking to political personalities. Then, what is Deshbhakti, my friends? Today, patriotism is often reduced to slogans, but Babasaheb's idea of patriotism was much deeper. For Ambedkar, true patriotism means loyalty to the Constitution. The Constitution represents the collective will of we, the people of India. Governments change. Political parties can change. Prime ministers can change. Chief ministers also changes. But the Constitution remains. Therefore, our highest loyalty must always to be the constitutional values: justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, rule of law, fundamental rights, independence of institutions. This is the constitutional Deshbhakti, patriotism. Then what is Andhbhakti? The blind devotion. Andhbhakti means blind political devotion. It begins innocently. People admire a leader. Then admiration becomes emotional attachment. Soon criticism becomes unacceptable. Finally, every criticism of their leader is treated as a criticism of the nation. This is the beginning of a democratic decline. Gradually, the leader becomes larger than party. The party becomes larger than parliament. The government becomes larger than constitution. And finally, the nation itself becomes identified with one individual. Babasaheb Ambedkar warned us against precisely this danger. My friends, Ambedkar never opposed any respect to the elders. Let us be very clear. Ambedkar never said we should not admire great leaders. He believed it was fine to be grateful to leaders who served the country, but warned citizens never to lay their liberties at the feet of even a great man, or trust him with power to subvert democratic institutions. He himself admired Buddha. He respected Mahatma Jyotirao Phule. He honored Chhatrapati Shahu Maharaj. He appreciated many national leaders, but he drew a clear constitutional line. He said, "Be grateful, respect leadership, but never surrender your liberty. Never place any leader above constitutional accountability. No person, however popular, is greater than the Constitution." Then let us also see the lessons from world history, my friends. History repeatedly confirms Ambedkar's wisdom. Ancient Rome elevated emperors almost to divine status. Italy witnessed the cult of Mussolini. Germany witnessed the cult of Hitler. the Soviet Union witnessed the cult of Stalin. Different countries, different ideologies, but one common pattern: institutions weakened, independent voices disappeared, suppressed, criticism became betrayal, fear replaced freedom. Every dictatorship first demanded unquestioning loyalty before it demanded unquestioning silence. That is why Babasaheb Ambedkar warned India before it was too late. My friends, one of the Babasaheb Ambedkar's greatest contributions was the idea of constitutional morality, my friends. Why? Because he repeatedly reminded us that the democracy survives not merely because elections are held, it survives because constitutional limitations on power are respected. Constitutional morality means respecting institutions even when they disagree with us, respecting judicial independence, respecting parliamentary debates, respecting federalism, respecting dissent, respecting criticism, respecting minority rights, respecting freedom of expression. Democracy is not merely majority rule, my friends. It is majority rule restrained by constitutional principles. Then Babasaheb Ambedkar also spoke about another danger, that is the role of media. In 1943, my friends, he criticized sections of the press for abandoning independent journalism and becoming instrument of personality glorification instead of public accountability. He criticized media for acting as drum boys to glorify political idols rather than holding powerful figures accountable, which he said made half of the followers fools and other half hypocrites. The media in a democracy is expected to question power, not worship power. Its duty is to ask difficult questions, to verify facts, to expose mistakes, to protect public interest. Without an independent media, democracy gradually loses its capacity for self-correction. Then what is the difference between Deshbhakti and Andhbhakti, my friends? There is a profound difference. Deshbhakti loves India. Andhbhakti loves personalities. Deshbhakti protects the constitution. Andhbhakti protects individuals. Deshbhakti asks questions. Andhbhakti discourages questions. Deshbhakti values institutions. Andhbhakti weakens institutions. Deshbhakti accepts criticism. Andhbhakti brands criticism as betrayal, otherwise as anti-national. Deshbhakti strengthens democracy. Andhbhakti weakens and destroys democracy. That is the fundamental distinction between Deshbhakti and Andhbhakti. Then, my friends, democracy needs thinking citizens. Some people believe that patriotism or nationalism means supporting every decision of their leader or the government. Our constitution teaches us exactly the opposite. Article 19 guarantees freedom of speech because democracy needs questioning citizens. Parliament exists to question the executive. The opposition exists to question the government. The judiciary exists to examine the legality of the state actions. The media exists to investigate and question. Citizens exist to hold governments accountable by questioning and by expressing their dissent. If nobody questioning power, who will protect democracy, my friends? So, here, as a members of legal fraternity, our duty is even greater, my friends. Lawyers do not defend government. Lawyers defend the constitution. Our oath is not to any political party. Our commitment is to justice. Whenever constitutional values are threatened, lawyers must speak. Whenever institutions are weakened, lawyers must defend them. Silence in defense of liberty is never constitutional neutrality. Then my young friends, who are very successful in gendered in their fight against NEET league, my friends, never become blind followers of any leader, including those you admire. Read the constitution, read Ambedkar, read history, ask questions, examine the facts, think independently. Your loyalty should always be to constitutional principles rather than political personalities or any individuals. That alone will preserve the democracy. So let me conclude with the Babasaheb Ambedkar immortal warning, my friends. Political hero worship may appear attractive. It may produce temporary popularity, but ultimately it weakens democratic institutions. The Constitution gave India citizens, not subjects. The Constitution created representatives, not the rulers. The Constitution established accountability, not unquestioning obedience. Therefore, let us remember, Our national flag, our tricolor flag is above every political party. Our constitution is above every government and every personality. Our democracy is above every individual or any leader. Let us become constitutional Deshabhakt, not political blind devotees or Andhbhakts. Let us defend the institutions rather than individuals or personalities. Let us defend the constitutional morality rather than political mythology or ideology or communal philosophy. Let us defend liberty rather than blind obedience. That will be the greatest and true tribute to the memory of Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, and that will strengthen our democratic Republic of India. Jai Bhim, Jai Constitution, Jai Bharat.